ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤਿ ਆਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਤਿਲਕ ਜੰਝੂ ਰਾਖਾ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਤਾਕਾ ਕੀਨੋ ਵੱਡੋ ਕਲੂ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਕਾ ਸਾਧਨ ਹੇਤ ਹਿਤੀ ਜਿਨ ਕਰੀ ਸੀਸ ਦੀਆ ਪਰ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਉਚਰੀ ਧਰਮ ਹੇਤ ਸਾਕਾ ਜਿਨ ਕੀਆ ਸੀਸ ਦੀਆ ਪਰ ਸਿਰ ਨ ਦੀਆ ਨਾਟਕ ਚੇਟਕ ਕੀਏ ਕੋ ਕਾਜਾ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਲੋਗਨ ਕਹਿ ਆਵਤ ਲਾਜਾ ਚਉਪਈ ਠੀਕਰ ਫੋਰ ਦਲੀਸ ਸਿਰ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਪੁਰ ਕੀਆ ਪਿਆਨ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਸੀ ਕਿਰਿਆ ਕਰਹੀ ਨ ਕਿਨਹੂ ਆਨ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਕੇ ਚਲਤ ਭਇਓ ਜਗਤ ਕੋ ਸੋਕ ਹੈ ਸਭ ਜਗ ਭਇਓ ਜੈ 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 ਸੁਰਲੋਕ ਕਹਾ ਬੁੱਧ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਤੁਛ ਹਮਾਰੀ ਬਰਨ ਸਕੈ ਮਹਿਮਾ ਜੋ ਤਿਹਾਰੀ ਹਮ ਨਾ ਸਕਤ ਕਰ ਸਿਫਤ ਤੁਮਾਰੀ ਆਪ ਲਿਹੋ ਤੁਮ ਕਥਾ ਸੁਧਾਰੀ ਬਾਣੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੁਰੂ ਹੈ ਬਾਣੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਾਣੀ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਕਹੈ ਸੇਵਕ ਜਨ ਮਨ ਪ੍ਰਤਖ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਿਸਤਾਰੇ ਮੂਖ ਉਚਰੈ ਸ਼ਾਸਤਰ ਖਟ ਪਿੰਗ ਗਿਰਨ ਚੜ ਜਾਏ ਅੰਧ ਲਖੈ ਬਦਰੋ ਸੁਨੈ ਜੋ ਕਾਲ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਾਏ ਸਲੋਕ ਡੰਡਾਉਤ ਬੰਦਨ ਅਨਕ ਬਾਰ ਸਰਬ ਕਲਾ ਸਮਰੱਥ ਡੋਲਣ ਤੇ ਰਾਖੋ ਪ੍ਰਭੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇ ਕਰ ਹੱਥ ਡੋਲਣ ਤੇ ਰਾਖੋ ਪ੍ਰਭੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇ ਕਰ ਹੱਥ
ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ। ਸੋਰਠ ਮਹੱਲਾ ਨਾਵਾ। ਪ੍ਰਾਨੀ ਕੌਣ ਉਪਾਉ ਕਰੈ ਜਾਤ ਭਗਤ ਰਾਮ ਕੀ ਪਾਵੈ ਚਮਕੋ ਤਰਾਸ ਹਰੈ। ਪ੍ਰਾਨੀ ਕੌਣ ਉਪਾਉ ਕਰੈ ਜਾਤ ਭਗਤ ਰਾਮ ਕੀ ਪਾਵੈ ਚਮਕੋ ਤਰਾਸ ਹਰੈ। ਰਹਾਉ ਕੌਣ ਕਰਮ ਵਿਦਿਆ ਕਹੁ ਕੈਸੀ ਧਰਮ ਕੌਣ ਪੁਨ ਕਰਈ ਕੌਣ ਨਾਮ ਗੁਰੂ ਚਾਕੈ ਸਿਮਰੈ ਭਵ ਸਾਗਰ ਕਉ ਤਰਈ। ਕਲਮੈ ਏਕ ਨਾਮ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਿਧ ਜਾਹੇ ਜਪੈ ਗਤ ਪਾਵੈ ਔਰ ਧਰਮ ਤਾਕੈ ਸਮਨਾਹਨ ਇਹ ਬਿਦ ਭੇਦ ਬਤਾਵੈ। ਸੁਖ ਦੁਖ ਰਹਿਤ ਸਦਾ ਨਿਰਲੇਪੀ ਜਾ ਕੋ ਕਹਿਤ ਗੁਸਾਈ ਸੋ ਤੁਮ ਹੀ ਮਹਿ ਬਸੈ ਨਿਰੰਤਰ ਨਾਨਕ ਦਰਪਨ ਨਿਆਈ। ਪ੍ਰਾਨੀ ਕੌਣ ਉਪਾਉ ਕਰੈ ਜਾਤੇ ਭਗਤ ਰਾਮ ਕੀ ਪਾਵੈ ਚਮਕੋ ਤਰਾਸ ਹਰੈ।
ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸਾਜੀ ਨਿਵਾਜੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀਓ sitting in the company of ਧੰਨ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਲੈ ਸ਼ਹਿਦ ਗੁਰੂ ਫਤਿਹ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। We are very fortunate to be returning again this week, sharing the praise of Dhan Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj through their Pavitr Bani. Is 350 years of Dhan Satguru Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj Shahidi Divas, which has been celebrated towards the end of the year. And we started with the Manorath with the wish that we could praise Dhan Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj every Sunday at 5 to 6 p.m. By delving into the teachings of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj supplied through their Gurbani, through their compositions. So we have got to towards the middle of Satguru Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj's compositions. 2 weeks ago, last week, we were not able to do Hazari here because we were away on a Gurmat camp. And this week, we will be talking or reflecting on the 5th and 6th Shabad in Sorath Rag of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj. Although Katha should always be done in Gurmukhi and Punjabi, but for the sake of people to link and connect with Dhan, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj and Gurbani in general, we do Katha in English by asking for forgiveness from Guru Sahib, because we should really be making attempts to speak in Punjabi and relate to Punjabi in all ways. We are also going through the Remembrance Week in remembrance of those brave souls who protected the honor of Sri Akal Takht Sahib, the brave Shaheed Singhs and Singhaniya of 1984. This whole week is in remembrance of those great Shaheeds. So we will take a little bit time to reflect on that as well today. So Satguru Ji, just to give some context again, Satguru Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj are in Prague, otherwise known as Allahabad at one time, otherwise known as Tribeni as well, the site of where recently Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, recently the Kumbh Mela happened in India. So at this Kumbh Mela, people, at this place, people would come, saints of all denominations, the 6 different firqe of the Hindu faith, the saints of the Hindu faith, they are all enraptured by Dhan Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj's darshan, and Guru Sahib are blessing them all with knowledge of Gurmat, the highest teachings, the teachings that allow us to unite with Akal Purkh Vaheguru. So Dhan Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj are in Prague, and the sadhus are asking Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj a series of questions. In this Shabd, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj sets out the questions that they were asking and then gives a fitting reply to those questions as well. Let us focus our minds and then take in the reflections or the teachings of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj as if we were present there, so that we can also live a life full of praise, a life full of truth, a life full of bliss, a life full of Naam. So let's focus our minds and tune into the teachings of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj.
Sorath Mahalla Nava.
Dhan Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj in the 5th Sorath Shabd, this is the 5th Sorath Shabd they recited, and they are now laying out the questions that the Hindu people asked Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj.
Prani kaun upao kare.
So the first question they asked was, for us mortal beings, for us pranis, prani means people of breath, so people who breathe. We're all pranis. So a prani is an individual who breathes, basically. Kaun upao kare. What should an individual do in their life to meet with Vaheguru? What kind of actions, what kind of techniques, what should they take upon themselves to meet with Vaheguru?
Jate Bhagat Ram ki pave, jam ko tras hare.
So what sort of actions should one do to unite with Akal Purkh Vaheguru, that they become full of devotional worship for Vaheguru, and that they delete the fear of death? These are the 2 questions that the Hindu people first asked Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj. So how do we develop our spiritual path, and how do we get rid of the fear of death? Because sare darde hai maut to. Everyone dies, or everyone leaves this world. The one guarantee that we have in life, you can't have guarantee over your property, you can't have guarantee over your maya, you can't have guarantee over your own health, you can't have guarantee of your family members. You can't guarantee anything in this life. The only thing you can guarantee is that we are going to die. That's the one justification in this world. And people will do all sorts of efforts to avoid death. However, Guru Sahib has given us Maryada, the discipline of living as a Gursikh. And Maryada means marne nu yaad karna. So effectively, when we live the discipline of Gursikhi, we develop, we conquer death. We develop a higher thought above death. So Guru Sahib was asked this question by the Hindus that how do we develop our devotional worship so that we see Parameshwar Vaheguru in every single molecule in front of permeating everything? And then how do we delete the fear of death within us? And Maharaj asks us to reflect with this. This is the central questions that we're asking today as well of Guru Sahib.
Rahao.
So Vishram De Ke Maharaj tells us to pause and reflect and then understand the teachings going forward.
Kaun karma vidya kahu kaisi, dharma kaun pun karei.
So the Hindus also asked Guru Sahib, Kaun karma. So what kind of actions should we do? The Hindu faith exhorted or they focused on certain types of actions. So ek hundaya nit karm. So your daily action. Ek hundaya namit karm. So actions done for a certain benefit. For example, actions done when somebody passes away, or actions done on the birth of someone, actions done on somebody's wedding, for example, or preparing for a wedding. Unu namit karm kande. Then you had nikhid karam as well. Nikhid karam were actions that you're not supposed to do. Jada sharab pini, adak, indulging in adultery and everything. Then you had parashchit karam as well. So the Hindu texts, they set out punishments as well to yourself. So if you did indulge in a galti or a mistake, then what actions we should take to reverse those galtiyan. And then you also had Nikhid karma, you had prashchit karma, you had kama karma as well. Kama karma were those actions. Say, for example, you had a desire for a child to come into your family, then you would do certain actions to get that child to come into your home, basically. So you had all these different types of actions that the Hindu faith broke down into the scriptures. And it says also here, vidya kaho kaisi. Then there were different types of vidya on knowledge as well. Some people had the knowledge of the Kathak dance, dancing in Kathak. You had knowledge of horoscopes. You had knowledge of all different types. So they asked Maharaj, what's the best type of karam? Kaun karam? Vidya kaho kaisi? What type of knowledge is the best type of knowledge? Dharam kaun pun kare. And then what's the best type of righteous action? Because in dharam, there's all different types of dharmic action. There's forgiveness, there's love, there's devotion, there's compassion, there's kindness, there's resilience. There's all different types of actions that fall under dharam in itself as well. So, dharma kaun hun kare. They also asked Maharaj, Maharaj, what kind of actions should we do as well? What's the highest form of dharmic action as well?
Kaun naam guru jaake simre, pav sagar ko tarei.
And then what naam, whose name should we recite so that we can cross over this worldly ocean? Pav sagar. They describe the ocean of this world as an ocean that's on fire. Pav means fire. Sagar means ocean that you can also be drowning in. So effectively, we drown in a burning ocean. So how is this world burning? The world is burning because we have a desire that burns within us. It's a never-ending rat race, a never-ending desire. How can I better myself? And we drown in it. So we drown in it because we have no foresight as to what could come next. The stress or the bandhans that we get tied up, the obstacles that we might create for ourselves when we attach ourselves to that burning fire of desire within us. So they asked Maharaj, Maharaj, which name should we remember? Which name of God should we remember? And how do we cross over this worldly ocean? And then Guru Sahib gave one answer to all these questions. So Guru Tegh, and this is the beauty of Guru Sahib. How many people are sitting in Sangat here today? Everyone has a different desire or a thought in their minds. Everyone is at a different stage in their life. Everyone has got a different question maybe in their life, in their mind. But Guru Sahib, with one instruction, deletes or gets rid of every person's thoughts, so every person's desires as well. So Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj replied in the next Pangti.
ਕਲ ਮੈਂ ਏਕ ਨਾਮ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਿਧ ਜਾਹੇ ਜਪੈ ਗਤ ਪਾਵੈ.
Maharaj says, in Kaljug, in this dark age, there's only one name of God that we need to recite. And this name of God is the Kirpanid, is the treasure chest of Kirpa, is the treasure chest, is the key to everything, is the key to treasure. Jahe jape gat pave. Jida banda japuga, jida manuk japuga Parmeshwar da naam, they receive liberation in this world. For our faith of the Khalsa Panth, we are blessed with Mool Mantar, Ek Oankar to Nanak Hosi Sach. And then we are blessed with Gur Mantar, Vaheguru. So those names, those types of names are given to us by the Panj Pyare in the company of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. At the recent camp, Seek to Inspire camp, Gursikhs did ardas for 10 million Mool Mantras to be japped by the Sangha. There's a QR code. If you wish to have the QR code, I can pass it to you after this Katha. But if you wish to get involved in japping Naam with the rest of the Sanghas for the Chardi Kala of the Panth, Gursikhs are doing 10 million Mool Mantra jobs. This is a good way to get motivated and to do those jobs. So, Satguru Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj say that when we recite, and also Gurbani, Maharaj has given us Gurbani as well. There's no difference between saying Vaheguru, there's no difference between doing Mool Mantra, and there's no difference between reciting Bani or listening to Bani. It's all Naam Swarup. It's all the image of Parameshwar's name. So the Pandits or the Hindus at that time asked Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj that does it say in our scriptures, in the Vedas, does it praise God in a similar way? And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj replied, even in your Veds, it says that in Kaljog, recital of the name of God is the highest form. Recital of Parameshwar's Naam is the highest form of worship. Dhan Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj in Asa Diwar, they state, they're given a really nice example of what the time was. Because before this age, we're in Kaljug at the moment. Kaljug roughly started about 5,500 years ago. Before this age was an age called Dwapar. Before that age is an age called Treta. And before that age was an age called Satyug. In those ages, there were different types of worship of God. There was different ways to get to God. So at that time, maybe Naam, the recital of the name of God, wasn't everything. You have to do other things as well. So Dhan Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj in Asa Diwar, they say, Mahalla Pehla. They say, you know, this Sarir, Nanak Mer Sarir Ka, Ek Rath Vaho. You know, this Sarir, a Meru Manku Wangua Manka. So, you know, on a mala, on a necklace of a mala, you know, the main bead with a little thread on it. Unu Meru Manka Kandea, the main Manka. And that's the Manka that tells you that you've done one whole circuit. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji compare that the highest form of praise, the vehicle for that is this body. Inu Meru Manka Kaya. Nanak Mer Sarir Ka, Ek Rath Vaho. Now imagine this body is the main vehicle. So Maharaj says this body is like a chariot. Ek Rath Vaho. And then a chariot is driven by someone, isn't it? So a chariot, a person drives that chariot. So if you imagine worship of God in some way, shape or form, driving that chariot. And it says, Jug Jug Pher Vataiya, Gyani Bujjata hai. Jug Jug Pher Vataiya. So in the ages from Satyug, from Treta, from Dwapar, from Kaljug, the method of remembering God has changed over time. So over time, and Gyanis, spiritual people, they understand that, they know that. And they say, Satyug Rath Santoh Ka Dharam Agairath Vahu. In Satyug, in the age of Satyug, so this is way back, right at the start, right when the timer started, everyone was very truthful. Everyone was very focused on Parmeshwar. Everyone was focused, so much so that you needed someone to be exceptionally great to unite with God, because everyone's telling the truth. So you had to be really exceptional, you had to be really amazing to unite with God. Uthe Maharaj Gyasi, there was one key characteristic. In that time, Satyuga, what was the charioteer? So what was the body doing at that time? The body was focused on contentment, santokh. So no one really chased after Maya. Maya didn't mean anything. Money didn't mean anything to anyone at that time. Everyone was just focused on santokh. And then to drive that contentment, you have to think very carefully about this, reflect on this very carefully. To drive that contentment, you have to have the qualities of dharma, of faith. So faith was driving everyone at that time, and the body had to focus on contentment. And no one looked. ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਚਾਰ ਬੰਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਕਮਰੇ 'ਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੋਣ and ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ੀਸ਼ਾ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਿਆ. Like you have a mirrorless room and there's 4 people sitting in there, a family, and every single member of that family is just japing naam, and they're just focused on contentment. And because of that contentment, people were driven by the qualities of faith as such. Then the time changed, didn't it? Then Treta, what happened? In Treta, Rath Jataka. Then people changed. What became the chariot for this body, so the action, the dharmic action of this body became celibacy, being celibate. Suddenly people started to control themselves. And then Maharaj says, Jor agaratwao. So to be celibate, you had to put so much focus on your body that it didn't go hither or thither. You had to focus on keeping your celibacy. Your eyes didn't look above the ground. Your eyes, even like people say at that time, if you look at the famous individuals at that time, if you had like even a sister-in-law, you wouldn't even look at her face. You just look at her feet. Inna uthe celibacy da jola. If you imagine Lakshman from Ram, they say that Lakshman didn't look at Sita's feet in all his life. He didn't look at her face all his life. Inna ude vich jat sat si. He had that much focus inside of himself. So then the time changed again, didn't it? And as the time changed, the requirements of faith also changed as well. So celibacy became harder to maintain. Imagine in that room, windows appeared, one person has started looking out and has gone weak. They're being distracted. So the faith is now just stuck on something else. The charioteer to run this body is something else. And Maharaj says at that time, Ke Dwapar Rath Tapeka Sat Agaratva. Instead of celibacy, it got changed into penance. People started doing penance. To the Ekalatte Karna, whether in the middle of the rain, shine, doesn't matter. You sit in the jungles, you have a kara, fill it up with water, ude jaltara karna, let it drip, put a hole in the kara and let it drip onto your head. Jatuniya launiya, so you sit in the middle of the summer months. You put ag in front of you, ag in 4 corners of you. So ekta high temperature of the world, of the sun, then agni in front of you, and then all 4 corners around you. Da tuniya toniya, you do tap penance. And the way to keep the penance going was to speak the truth. Say, for example, a sadhu was doing penance and he saw a cattle go by, and a butcher was running after the cattle because he wanted to kill it. But to preserve his penance, when the butcher asked which way did it go, he replied something like, the eyes can see but they can't hear. Or like the ears can hear but they can't see. To protect his penance so that wo koi galti na kare, he spoke the truth. Na did the cattle die, but naale unu vi das ditta ki hoya, which way it went, what happened. So Now, what's the stake now then? Because neither have we got the ability to do penance like the old days, neither have we got the ability to keep celibacy like the old days, and neither do we have contentment really. If you look around you in our families, koi santokhi thoda hega really. Think about it really carefully. Santokh is found very rarely, isn't it? Contentment. So Maharaj says, in Kal Yuga Rath Agan ka Kood Agaratvaho. They say in Kal Yuga, the body is affected by Agni, fire. And the fire is desire, the fire is lust, the fire is anger, the fire is greed, and the fire is more. And we can't get ourselves away from it. And then Maharaj says, who's the charioteer then? Kuda Garatva Chut. So to preserve calm, lust, to preserve anger within us, we tell lies, basically. That's what happens. You come across people who've done pap, and they will lie to you. I work in an environment where I see people who lie regularly, and they lie to preserve their crimes, what they've done wrong in their life. So I see it regularly, and then when you have to unpick it, you have to probe them further until they tell the truth, and then they come out with the truth as well. So why didn't you just tell us the truth in the first place? Because sach bolna bahut aukha hai, and that's the way Kal Yuga is at this moment. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj had the same reflection. At one point, they went to a village called Sri Tamtan Sahib. Utthe there was a Gursikh called Bhai Nandalal. His actual name, he became known as Bhai Mehaji. And what happened, this Bhai Mehaji was a very beloved Gursikh. Guru Sahib stayed at that place for 9 months in that village, Tamtan Sahib. Mata Nanaki Ji, their mother, Mata Gujar Kaur Ji, their wife was also with them, Sangatan were with them as well. Bhai Mehaji's seva, you know what his seva was? His seva was gathering water from the well and taking it to the Guru's langar so that the water could be used. And to do that, he would use a metal gagar, like a big container, amphora. In the Romans, they had those, the Greeks, they had those big pots, didn't they? The clay pots called amphoras. But this was like a steel, a metal one that he used to carry. Bhai Mehaji would go to the well or go to the river and fill up this metal gagar, carry it on his head and take it to the langar. The Roj da karam si. And if the water finished in the langar, he would go back few times in the day to do the same seva. Over time, what started happening, because he was carrying such water on his head, the water would drip, wouldn't it, onto his head. And holly, his head became damp. And as his head became damp, he started developing an infection because he was using a gagar, right? And the gagar is resting on his head. So the rubbing of the silver of the gagar started to rub into his head. And holly, what happened? His infection grew. Jida India thanu pataya, if you've got an infection, what gets attracted to that infection the most? Flies. And as flies started coming near him, he started developing kide or larvae in his head. Little kide, little insects started growing in his head. But Bhai Mehaji didn't stop his seva. He didn't give up his seva. He carried on doing the Jal seva despite the pain he was in. And because he was doing seva with so much love and affection, his avastha, his spiritual ability also grew as well. He got to the point where he thought, because the silver was rubbing into his head, he didn't complain about it, he didn't let anyone know about it. Until one day, he grabbed an innu. Innu kandeya, you know that kind of, you know on the tabla, when you have the little thing at the bottom of the tabla, that kind of round disc that stabilizes the tabla, made out of wool, that round kind of, unu innu kandeya. In India, you used to have innus to protect your head as well, and then kapda jida masaya rakhe on top of your head, make a little circle of it, and then put the gagar on top. So then he kept an innu on his head. Now the innu just aggravated the wound even more. It got stuck into his wound even more. And because it got stuck into his wound, he just carried on. Une Vaheguru Vaheguru japi gaya. Itihas tells us that Vaheguru Vaheguru kenda gaya, he just carried on with the seva. One day, Mata Nanaki Ji, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj's mother, they see Bhai Mehaji doing this seva and they notice that he's full of love, he's full of devotion. But then they notice something. Bhai Mehaji took the innu off, and with it, loads of kide fell onto the floor from his head. And because the kide fell onto the floor, Bhai Mehaji thinks, look at his ability, his thoughts. Bhai Mehaji thinks, if these kide stay on the floor, the Gursikhs are going to trample on them, they're going to die. And they've got nothing to eat apart from the flesh in my head. Look at his birti, where he'd got to through his seva. He was seeing Viagra and everything. He picked up the kide and put them back in his head, that they would be able to feed off him still. That was his birti, what it got to. That Parameshwar saare into this daya, even the most. Mata Nanaki ji sore, uन्होंने बहुत तरसाया. She felt so sorry for him. And she went to Bhai Mehaji and said, Veere, you have done such amazing seva. मैं तेरी सिफारिश करनी है. I'm going to go and tell Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj that you have clocked it. There's, your seva pravan hai, main to samajhti haan. Then, a few days later, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj in the same vicinity, Mata Nanaki Ji sees Bhai Mehaji, tells Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj, Maharaj, innan di inni seva aa, ਇਹ ਕੀੜਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ ਰੂਪ ਆ. Like he's done so much, he doesn't give up his water seva, he eats very little in the langar. He's not like us, the type, when you go to India, there's Hole Mahalle, the langar, and there's the Nanpur Sahib, the langar. We stop off at every place. Cha pi liye. Golgappe shakli, even at the Nagar Kirtans here, apa chhadde nahi koi is jagah. Crisps le, chocolate le, samosa le, pakode le. We get so distracted, don't we? But kuch ke Gursikh hunde a jehde don't get distracted by that stuff. Their focus is just seva and Maharaj, nothing else. They're just happy with the little bit of prasad at the end of the sangat, at the end of the day. A true Gursikhan di nishani hundi hai. When everyone's eaten the langar and they just have the remaining bits of the last bits at the end. They don't let their mind go anywhere else. Bhai Mehaji got the blessings of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. When Maharaj Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj looked at him, they knew everything anyway, Antarjami si. At that point, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj reflected about Satyug, reflected on Treta, looked at how people were doing celibacy at that time, how people were doing penance at that time, how people were sitting in Santokh at that time. And Maharaj thought, today's Gursikhs, they're not going to be able to do that. And then they also thought that, this seva of Sangat is the highest form of penance. It tapa sir tap sarya. It's the highest form of penance. Doing seva of the Sangat is the highest form of seva. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj reflects, in Itihas it says, that they said 1 day of seva of the Sangat is equivalent to 1,000 years of doing celibacy, 1,000 years of doing penance, 1,000 years of just sitting in Santokh, just doing seva of the Guru Sangat. At that time, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji fir mehr di akkhan naal dekhde Bhai Mehaji and blessed him with Brahm Gyan and said, Bhai, tenu Guru ne nihal kita tenu. Then they gave him some things and say, tu hun sab to ucha ban gaya hai. But those ants that you're caring about so much, one ants ne sikh banna hai. And you're going to be their sadhu. You're the one who's going to liberate them in the next janam. When they get born, they're going to come back as your followers and you're going to save them. Maharaj gave him a Mahanti. Mahanti means he became one of the highest saints of that area. Maharaj gave him a Nagara. Maharaj gave him an ox so that he could go from place to place and do prachar of Gursikhi. Look at what he was doing. He was doing seva of just water, wasn't he? He was just doing seva. He pleased Guru Sahib in such a way, unu prachar di seva mili. And then Maharaj gave him a Nagara. They gave him a Nishan Sahib as well. And the Nishan color that they gave him was like Bhagwa Kapda. So like this Ramallah Sahib here is a bit cream in it, just a little bit more tangier color than that. Unu Bhagwa Kapda, like saffron, like a really light saffron color. Unu Nishan ditta, unu Nishan Sahib as well. So ek Nishan ditta, ek Nagara ditta. They gave him a cart and an ox to do prachar from place to place. And then he got something even more greater. He got Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj's shoes, their khadawa. And then for the rest of his life, Bhai Mehaji would do prachar of Gursikhi and he would say, Seva karo pai. He would put onus on doing seva. Guru kar di seva tat par ke dat ke karo. So that jiri thodi pokhya andar chale jave. That you become so content that you Apa ek hafta karke dekhiye seva and Guru kar, what it gives you. It gives you so much. You don't have no lalsa, you don't have no greed for anything left. You get so much thand in you. Ek din karke dekhiye, ek week karke dekhiye, Maharaj gives the blessings. So aisa Bhai Mehaji was blessed with Gursikhi. So just relating it back to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj, Kal mein ek naam kirpa nidh. The highest form of action is when you do seva in such a way, you're rewarded with the Vaheguru Simran, with more bhajan, aren't you? Amara says that's the greatest treasure chest in Kaljug. Jahe jape gat pave. Jeda japuga, unu liberation mildi hai. Those people who liberate themselves in this way, Mara says they are the greatest. They are great in the eyes of Guru Sahib.
और धर्म ताकै समनाहिन एह बिद भेद बतावै.
Maharaj Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji said there's no greater dharmic action, there's no greater faith at this day and age in Kaljug that is greater than remembering the name of God in this way.
सुख दुख रहत सदा निर्लेपी जा को कहत गोसाई.
The Hindu lok, the sadhus then asked Maharaj, so you know in the Vedas, you obviously got knowledge of it, Maharaj, the Antarjamiya, you know everything. And they say, there must be a vidhi, there must be a method of some sort. And Guru Sahib say, the method in itself is remembering Akal Purkh Vaheguru, but for them, Maharaj says, just recite the name of God. And when you recite the name of God, you will start developing qualities. And they say, Sukh dukh rahat sada nirlepi. The qualities of Vaheguru are such, ke sukh, jida, you know the very small bliss that we get from lust, the very small bliss that we get from earning money and maybe buying a car, the very small bliss that we get from maybe hugging our children, no more, the very small bliss that we get from maybe just telling people about how good we are, how knowledgeable we are. Those bliss are very small, aren't they? They're very momentary. They don't last long. But everlasting bliss, that's something else. Maharaj says, Vishe Sukh, Parameshwar Vaheguru, he's beyond the pleasures of vice as such, the very small blisses, dukh. And then, because the Vaheguru knows everything, they're not in agyan or spiritual ignorance like we are. So they avoid the dukh of ignorance, of not knowing what the right path is. So Maharaj says, Sada nirlepi, and they are detached from everything. So neither do they get taken in by the small momentary blisses, Parameshwar Vaheguru, neither do they get the dukh of doing the wrong actions, and they are detached from everything as well. Jako kahat gusai, they are the master of this world. Go means this world, Sai means master. They are the master of this world, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj say.
So tum hi meh basai nirantar nanak darpan nyai.
So if you're looking for a method, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj gives a method. They say, So tum hi meh basai nirantar. That Vaheguru, who is beyond small blisses and beyond agyan, he's actually sitting inside you. वो थोड़े विच बैठा है. He's inside you. So तुम ही में बसा निरंतर नानक दर्पण न्यायी. But what are they like? They're like a mirror. They're like a reflective mirror. Now, when I look to the arth of this, I'm going to repeat the meanings just as they were to you, so you understand. The definition that was given of a saint, you know, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੰਤ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਬ੍ਰਹਮ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ. Brahmagyanis are very few and far between in this world, but they're described like a magnifying glass, because that's like a form of mirror, isn't it? Magnifying glass. Now, what does a magnifying glass do? It shows your reflection very close up, doesn't it? When you look at it, you're enlarged, don't you? When you look at it, you see your face, you see your eyes bulging, your nose really big, don't you? Really closely. It's really close. Then what else does a magnifying glass do? If you were like me when you were a kid, you'd get a sun and you try to zap things with it. So you get the magnifying glass and the light reflects of the sun into it, and it creates a ray on the floor. It creates Agni, doesn't it, on the floor. I'm not going to say what I used to do at that time as a pyromaniac. But people, Mahapurush are described as Brahmagyanis are described as a magnifying glass. And why are they described as a magnifying glass? Because they see Vaheguru within them. Jodi Jyot hai Parameshwar di, they see the reflection of Vaheguru within them. They concentrate on that image. So that's like the magnifying glass, they see it. Fir magnifying glass mangu. What do? The Suraj da ansh penda hai, they use the the light of that Suraj, and they create Agni within it. So 3 qualities are obtained in those sadhus. Just like they see the reflection, they see that Vaheguru, that conscious Vaheguru within themselves. Then they also see that Agni Roop, that bliss, that fire that's created, they get that bliss within themselves as well. And then they also, because they see the thing close up, very close, magnified, they also see the truth, the reality. They are close to the reality. So they're close to the reality, magnified. They also feel the heat, like the Agni, like the magnifying glass burns as well, which is basically the Anand, the bliss. And they see a reflection of themselves as well. They see the mota action of Parameshwar Vaheguru within themselves as well. Chetan Swarup Hundaya. Another explanation that they give in that text also is that's 3 types of mirror. You know, on a scanner or on a phone, you take a picture, don't you, and it keeps a reflection. They are like Agyani Purush like us. They are people who are in spiritual ignorance. Because when we see a materialistic thing in front of us, we take a photo of it and it gets recorded in us and say, yeah, I want that. We desire. We have a desire, don't we? We don't kill the desire. So that's one type of mirror. You know, like you take a picture and a reflection, you take a photo of it and it stays within you. Then you get Jivan Mukt individuals, people who are living, but they are free from this world. And they are just like this normal shisha that we see. So when you go in front of the normal shisha, you stand before it, then they go away from it, the reflection has disappeared. And for Jivan Mukt individuals, when they look at this world, they see a materialistic thing in front of us, like a changi gaddi, but they don't put their mind to it, they just walk away from it. Ye to kuch nahi hai, Parmeshwar asal ya. Vaheguru is the real thing. Then you get Bade Mukt individuals. Bade Mukt individuals are people who don't have no feeling in their body. They live in this world, their Atma is so powerful and so strong that, you know, if somebody pinched them, they wouldn't feel it. If a mosquito come and sat on them, they won't feel it. When you still have a feeling that this body is yours. But through Bhajan Bandagi and Simran, they become like, they don't feel anything. It's like the pain is blurred to them. So imagine a really mota shisha, where, like in a magnifying glass, where the vision is a bit blurred as such. It's blurred, not their vision of Vaheguru is not blurred. What's blurred is the focus on materialistic aspects. They're not interested in it. It doesn't live, they don't believe in it. So Maharaj said, in this way, Nanak Darpan Nyai, Akal Purkh Vaheguru sits in within us. What do we take from it? We take in it that Vaheguru sade vich baitha hai. That jyot of Vaheguru, Akal Purkh Vaheguru's jyot, is inside of us. And that Sat Chit Anand, that bliss, that truth, and that feeling of not being sleepy, not being tired. When you start japping Naam, you will get those 3 aspects within you. And when you're close to those 3 aspects, then the jyot will follow as well. Then the reflection of Akal Purkh Vaheguru. So Maharaj gives the method very clearly to these. Because where do we start with? Shabad. We don't focus. Even when we sit in Shabad, just look at Vaheguru, like the word Vaheguru. Or just listen to the word that you're saying, Mool Mantar. Don't focus on any pictures or anything like that. Just focus on the word itself. And it's the Shabad that will really make you realize. Jagat Jyot, Japanis Basur Mazan. Day and night, worship that Jagat Jyot. Because that's what will get you close to the Shabad. The Shabad is everything. And then when you unite through the Shabad, you will be united with that Jyot of Vaheguru as well.
Sorath Mahalla Nava.
So Guru Sahib in that Shabad basically gave us the method, and they also explained that the highest form of Simran, the highest form of Dharam is Simran of Vaheguru or Bani itself. Now Maharaj gives us more teachings in the next Shabad.
Mai main keh bid lakho gosai.
Hey Mai, so Maharaj is saying to all the saints, hey Pai, main keh bid lakho gosai. How can I unite with Vaheguru? How can I see the master Vaheguru of this world? How do I develop that vision? How do I see them?
Maha moh agyan timar moh man rahyo aur jai.
Then they place something in front. They state what their current state is. Like we should currently put our state before Maharaj, right? And what is our current state? They says, Maha Moh, the great attachment, Maha Moh, Agyan Timar, is creating a massive darkness inside me. I'm very dark inside, Maharaj. I don't have. How many of us, when we close our eyes, actually see Vaheguru straight away? The Jyot within us straight away. How many of us feel content straight away? How many of us feel truthful all the time? How many of us don't get distracted by sleep when we sit to do Vaheguru Simran? ਇੱਥੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਆਉਣ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਸੰਗਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਬੈਠੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਨੀਂਦ ਆਈ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ throughout the camp ਤੇ ਗਏ ਸੀ it was so hard to keep your focus throughout the day on Maharaj's teachings. Even sitting in Sangat, you were knackered, your legs were hurting, but for people who are attached to Parameshwar Vaheguru, they don't feel no pain. Oh, ikras rehande are there in the Shabad all the time. So Guru Sahib say, okay, we have got this, we're attached to the attachment of this world and our family and friends, and then there's darkness, total darkness surrounding you. Imagine a bulb, and that bulb, in India, the garmi hundiya, or in a monsoon time, especially, when you put a light on, all the flies, all the mucky, everything come out of nowhere, don't they? And they cover the whole light bulb, the darkness. It just covers the whole light, doesn't it? Similarly, that Parameshwar Jyot inside of it is covered, isn't it? And it's covered with being in illusion that we're stuck in. We're attached to this world. To clear that, we need to sit. We have to spend time to do bhajan. We have to shut our eyes, remember Vaheguru. Now, some of the Bibi at the camp, when they came, some of them had little children. And there was a Bibi at the camp. I want to share this because I see little kids in the Sangat as well. This Bibi cried her eyes out because she felt that she was so taken up with her kids that she couldn't spend time to do bhajan bandagi, couldn't do simran bhajan. Actually, what it is, we've failed you guys. We haven't explained to you that life has different stages. And the time for a Bibi to do bhagati is before the children. Because the next stage kicks in. The next stage after having children is totally seva. If a Bibi gets time to do a nitnem, satabaniya, that's enough, right? But the time to do seva is not explained to you guys. If a parent, luckily Mike, the time nahi milda hai to do bhajan. Baithne nu sama nahi milda until 7-8 years when the child's grown older a little bit, then it becomes a bit more manageable. But that period of time is just seva. And what you're doing with the kids, you're feeding them, giving them prasada pani, you're helping them to come Gurdwara, you're helping to do whatever you're doing at that time with those children, you're preserving them. That is your Gursikhi at that time. So don't, hang up we start, lynching ourselves, saying, I don't do it, that Bibi was crying her head off. But actually, sometimes if you live in extended families, now you have a Siana, Sora, they can take that time and pressure off you. In the future, people might come and stay with us and they might be our daughter-in-laws or father-in-laws might have that same. We should take the power off them a little bit. We want the responsibility ultimately they are grandsons. Mata Gujar Kaur used to inspire the Sahibzade as well, didn't they? Yeah, so we can just let them have that little bit of time. So bhajan bandagi kar sakde in extended families. But where there's no extended family and there's children, bachi jehdi hai oh samjhe ki seva meri jehdi parivar di pati di bachyan di seva, that is my nitnem. And Guru Sahib actually says that is enough. You don't need to worry, don't hang yourself for it. That is enough. The time will come when the kids will go. Just a few weeks back, myself and Singni, none of our kids were at the house. And they were thinking, I wish there were kids around. That time's going to come as well. That's a different stage then. Oh, hor koi stage hundi hai. I remember there was a Mahapurkh passed away recently, Gyani Pritam Singh Ji Likhari. They were great Gursikh. He used to do a lot of prachar in Leicester when they used to come from London. And he used to, once we met them and they said, Apa Hazur Sahib gaye sige. Te uthe bada aanand liya. I said, so what happened? What do you do? He goes, main te ghar wali Singhni, we apa dona ne mala farniya. we got a room in Hazur Sahib and we just did job for the whole month. I said, what? That is the epitome, isn't it? ਹੋਰ ਕੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਆ when you go to ਸਥਾਨ ਦਾ ਭਜਨ ਬੰਦਗੀ ਕਰੋ ਆਨੰਦ ਰਹੇਗਾ ਬੜਾ ਆਨੰਦ ਆਇਆ. No worries about anything. They were obviously a bit elderly at that time. They were in about 60s, 70s at that time when we asked that question. So Maharaj ਇੱਥੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਮੋਹ ਮਨ ਰਹੇ ਉਰਜਾਈ. We place the more in front of Maharaj and say, Maharaj, I'm stuck. I can't see ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ inside. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਸ ਰਿਹਾ. Maharaj, ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਫਸੀ ਹੋਈ ਹਾਂ, ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਫਸਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹਾਂ. ਆਪ ਜੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰੋ. So Maharaj says, pause and reflect. We should put that ardas before Maharaj. And remember, ardas is key. At any stage in our lives, when we're ardas key, Maharaj, the greatest form of devotion is talking with your Guru, isn't it? Is having that conversation with Vaheguru, isn't it? There's a person who wrote these series of books. I wouldn't really recommend it, but it's still good. It's called Conversations with God. You may have heard of it. And the author in it is just having daily conversations with God. And what they found, holi, is that Vaheguru would start answering them through things during the day. Roj galbaat, Maharaj ta roj galbaat karde san. We come to Gurdwara Sahib, Katha hundi hai, Kirtan hunda, Kirtan nahi, Katha nahi, Maharaj bolde hai san. Dasde hi hai sanu. But we don't ever tune into it. ਆਪਾਂ ਟਿਊਨ ਇਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ, ਆਪ ਨਹੀਂ ਟਿਊਨ ਇਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਕਿ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕੀ ਦੱਸ ਰਿਹਾ. ਜਦ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਵੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ, we read the ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ on the board, don't we? It's Maharaj speaking to us. Maharaj saying to us, how are you today? I've been in so many circumstances where I've been worried, got chinta about something. We'll come to Guru Kar and says, oh, ki kadi na dekhan dei. Maharaj, kirpa karti aap ji ne. All the desire, worry just goes away. It's just faith, isn't it, in those words? So, Guru Sahib say here that pause and reflect, think. Put that ardas before Guru Sahib, and then Maharaj will answer it, won't they?
Sagal janam param hi param koyo khoyo nahe asthir mat pai.
And then place it, Maharaj, apa pata nahi kinne janam, I don't know how many janams we've been wandering around and we've lost those janams. We've wandered around from place to place and we've lost those janam. And nahe asthir mat pai. And my mind hasn't stood still since. My mind doesn't stand, doesn't focus, doesn't actually come to a standstill. And it just keeps going on and on, thought after thought after thought.
Bekh asakat rahyo nisbasur nahe chuti admai.
Bekh askat. Bekh askat means I am attached to the poison of this world. Bikhya, the poison of this world is all the materialistic things. And then rahyo nisbasur, day and night. Jada ਆਪਾਂ ਫੋਨ ਫੜਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ, ਕੀਰਤਨ ਸੋਹਿਲਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਫੋਨ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, YouTube ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. Think about it. We don't let the phone tick, do we? ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਟਿਕਣ ਦਿੰਦਾ, ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਟਿਕਣ ਦਿੰਦੇ. ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ, ਪਿਲੋ ਥੱਲੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਫਸਾਇਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ, right? ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ like that. ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ ਦਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਆ, ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ. We don't stop, do we? ਜਾਂ ਨੀਂਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ, ਫੋਨ ਫੜ ਲਓ ਭਾਈ. Straight away, all night, ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਬਸ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਬਸ. You know when the Jamduts come, ਆਪਾਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਨਾ ਪਰੇ ਹੋ ਜਾ, ਪਰੇ ਉਹ ਹੋਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ. When the Jamduts come to get us at that time, we're going to do this. And they're going to just laugh at us. ਕੀ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ? They're going to grab our soul and take us. So, give it a rest in it. Detox yourselves. ਆਪਾਂ ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਦਈਏ. 2 ਸਕਿੰਟਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਦਈਏ. ਬਾਣੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਗੁਟਕਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਲੈ ਲਓ. Not the phone. Use a ਗੁਟਕਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ. ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਕਰੋ, ਹੱਥ ਵੀ ਸਫਲ ਹੋਣਗੇ, ਅੱਖਾਂ ਵੀ ਸਫਲ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ. Your heart don't get suffer by holding the phone that's in your pocket when you go to the toilet. It's not suffer then. It's suffer if you wash your hands, ਗੁਟਕਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਾਣੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਸਿਮਰਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. But Guru Sahib say, ਬਿਖਿਆ ਸਖਤ ਰਹਿਓ ਨਿਸਬਾਸਰ. Day and night I'm stuck in these actions, Maharaj, this poison. ਨਹਿ ਛੂਟੀ ਅਦਮਾਈ. ਅਦਮਾਈ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ? ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਨੀਚ ਸੋਚ. Adamai means the most lowest of the lowest action. And only we know what that lowest of the lowest action is. No one else knows. Sorry, but your parents won't know what that lowest of lowest action is for you, but we know. Sanu pataya, ja Parameshwar nu pataya, because he's watching everything. We can't hide anything from them. So Guru Sahib say, place this ardas before Maharaj in this way. Maharaj, main sab to neech ha. I'm full of this neech aspect. I'm nothing but neech. There was a sadhu who passed away, Jaswant Singh ji in Canada. And there's a video of them, a nurse who comes in front of them a Kali nurse, and she says, "Can you please tell them to bless me?" Obviously, he was a sadhu. And his reply kind of like made me think like what he must be thinking. You know what his reply was? "I'm just a dog. I'm your dog." Because obviously in that accent. When a person thinks, maybe, I'm not saying they did, and I can't say they did not, maybe if it was us, we might have a lustful thought when a BB asks us, "Oh, tell me this," we might have a lustful thought in our head. No matter how much panji paji you might do, the lustful thought might be kicking in instead. And then at that time, a Gursikh samjhas themselves, don't they? कि मैं तो कुत्ता हैं, I'm nothing. मैं तो कुछ नहीं है. To make themselves come low. So Maharaj says that the biggest thing that we could do is possibly put the ardas, like Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj. This is Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj using these words. Ke aapa is stuck in this poison. They're not stuck in it, obviously, but they're doing it to tell us how to do the ardas. I'm stuck with these things. Be humble. I've got nothing but nothing in me. I've got the lowest of the lowest thought.
साध संग कभू नहीं कीना नह कीरत प्रभ गाई.
Neither have I done sangat of sadhus or great souls, or come into the sangat, and neither have I sang your praises. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj say.
जन नानक मैं नाहे को गुण राख ले हो सरनाई.
After all that, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj shows their humility. They say, the ninth Guru Nanak say, "I'm nothing. I've got no quality." The Shabd before, they're giving methods of Simran and how to unite with Vaheguru and how to imagine Vaheguru is within you. But to cloud their nimarta, to cloud their greatness, they're now saying this Shabd of Benti, that I'm full of nothing. Main to kuch nahi hai, mainu to kuch nahi pata. I don't know anything. And in this way, Satguru Maharaj says, "Rakh leo sarnai." Just keep us in your sanctuary. That's the ardas that they do. Today is the Shahidi of Bhai Manga Singh Ji. On the 1st of June in 1984, when the Indian government attacked Sri Harmandir Sahib. Today is the day when Bhai Kulwant Singh, otherwise known as Bhai Manga Singh Ji, became the first Shaheed of 1984. He was born in a city called Yamnagar or Yamunanagar in 1957. At the age of 27, he was Shaheed. The greatest form of sacrifice, there's one sacrifice that we can give up our bad habits, couldn't we? Holy, we can give up our phones. Holy, at the right time. Holy, we can give up bad actions. Holy, we can take up good actions by coming to Sangat. Holy, we can do Sangat and Nitane, Bani, Parni, Simran Karna. And even better, we might start doing Seva. And holy, we build our Jeevan. But there's nothing without giving up something, is there? ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਬੰਦਾ ਆਇਆ ਇੱਕ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਤੇ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੋਇਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਮਿਲ ਜੂਗੀ? How will you get Guru's khushi if you're in a relationship and it's not done without an Anand Karaj? You're not going to get Guru Sahib's khushi. Then you have to give it up, don't you? If you want Guru's khushi. And then when you give it up and you become solid, say, "Mara, मैं गलती ਕੀਤੀ ਆ, ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਰਦਾ. ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਛੋਟੀ ਆ, ਉਹ ਮੇਰੀ ਭੈਣ ਵਰਗੀ ਆ. Same age as me, she's like my sister. Elder than me, she's like my mother. I'm going to take that quality. And similarly, ਬੀਬੀਆਂ think that. ਜੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਛੋਟੀ ਉਮਰ ਦਾ ਆ, ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਵਰਗਾ ਆ. Some age ਦਾ ਆ, ਮੇਰਾ ਭਰਾ ਆ. Elder ਆ, ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿਓ ਵਰਗਾ ਆ. If we start taking those qualities of the Guru Khalsa on us, then Guru Sahib ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ, blessing ਦੇ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ. They give you Bani, they give you Seva. Don't get stuck in that mindset ਕਿ ਸਕੂਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਰੀਏ, ਕਾਲਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਰੀਏ, ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ 'ਚ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ. ਥੋੜਾ ਬਹੁਤਾ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਆਪ ਰੱਖੋ, ਥੋੜਾ ਬਹੁਤਾ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰੀਏ. Bhai Manga Singh Ji was one of those Gursikhs who devoted himself to Guru Sahib. You know what his ardas was? ਉਹਦੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ for many years was this. Guru Sahib, ਜਦ ਮੇਰੇ ਗੋਲੀ ਵੱਜੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਦੇ, when the bullets hit me, he already accepted Shahidi. Many years he used to do ardas. He was, when the bullets hit me, let them not hit me in my back. Let them hit me in my face, in my shati, in my head. ਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਭੱਜਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ. I didn't run like a coward. Bhai Manga, and then him doing the ardas every day, what did Maharaj do? Made him the first Shaheed of 1984. He was on the Baba Atal Tower when the Indian army attacked. He was one of the ones who gave answers back straight away. And then he went to the top floor. When he went to the top floor, a sniper hit him in his head. He fell to the floor. Haje sareer nahi marya. Singh said to him, kiਵੇਂ ਆ? He goes, ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਹੋਗੀ. His words were, ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਹੋਗੀ. Look at this. Accepted death, the biggest sacrifice. Apni qurbani karni, the sareer, giving up everything to Maharaj. Doesn't mean anything. Maharaj, for the sake of the Khalsa Panth. That's what you call qurbani. You know, when a shaheed goes from this world, you know what happens? They go to Parameshwar Vaheguru. The Vaheguru unna nu choice dinde a. You know what the choice is? Do you want to go back into this world for more seva? Or do you want to stay here with us? Some of them come back and they say, Maharaj, Haji Rajani hai, main aur seva karni hai. And they get put into another jivan where they get access to that same thing again and again and again. Some stay with Maharaj, but that is the greatness of a shaheed. So, remembering the great shaheeds of 1984 by Menga Singh Ji, otherwise known by Kulwant Singh Ji Babbar. Go on research. Tomorrow there will be another shaheed who passed away on the 2nd of June. 3rd of June, te ki kaun shaheed hoya si. 4th of June, they attacked our Kendriya Sthan. Not just that, many other gurdwaras around Punjab. Yet we still have an affinity to that government. Yet we still have an affinity to that country. Even to this day, they're targeting Sikhs in the UK and America now, Canada. They're sending people to shoot people out there. Apa kithe hain? We need to wake up from our comfort zones. Apa ek neend vich sutte hoye hain. Jida pinjare ch sher nahi hunde idda hain apa. But we need to open the gate. Lock jehda na apa hi laya hoya apa. We have to accept it that our path is one of this. Ke Satguru Maharaj rakh leo saranai. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ saran mangi si ke Maharaj, I want to die fighting on the battlefield. And this is what we need to be like, our mentality. So Pulla Chukandi Khema Bakshni ji. Next week, we'll go on to the next Shabads of Guru Tegh Bahadur ji in Sorath Rag. Dhan Guru Tegh Bahadur ji Maharaj do kirpa on us and bless us all with the ability to focus on whatever the reflections were today, the Naam of Parameshwar Vaheguru, the humility to cloud our or disguise our qualities, our good. Let us take that upon ourselves. Pulla Chukandi Khema ji, aakhi pankti padh ke samapti hai ji. Sad sang kabhu nahi kina, neh kirat prabh gai. Jan Nanak main nahe ko gun, rakh leho saranai. Vaheguru ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki